All right, this is part 2 for the reading help video for Birth of a Democratic Nation, section 4 of chapter 2. And we're picking up at Moving Toward Independence on page 54. Main idea: the colonists began to take steps toward independence from Great Britain. The colonial governments banded together to fight the intolerable acts. In September 1774, 12 of the colonies sent delegates or representatives to Philadelphia to discuss their concerns. These representatives from every colony except Georgia wanted to establish a political body to represent American interests and challenge or question British control. The First Continental Congress. The meeting in Philadelphia, known as the First Continental Congress, lasted 7 weeks. During that time, the delegates sent a document to King George III demanding that the rights of the colonists be restored or given back. They also made plans to extend the boycott of British goods. When the Congress ended, the delegates vowed to hold another meeting if their demands were not met by the following year. King George responds with force. In April 1775, 2 battles between British and colonial soldiers took place in Massachusetts at Lexington and Concord. These became the first battles of the Revolutionary War. Until this time, most colonists still thought of themselves as loyal subjects of Great Britain. Now, with British soldiers shooting at Americans, many colonists began to question their attachment to Britain. More people began talking about independence or self-reliance and freedom from outside control. Years after the first battle, Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote this poem to immortalize the colonists who fought at Concord. By the rude bridge that arched the flood, their flag to April's breeze unfurled. Here once the embattled farmer stood and fired the shot heard round the world. The Second Continental Congress. In May 1775, colonial leaders met at the Second Continental Congress in Philadelphia. Not every member of the Congress favored independence. Some believed that the colonists would never win a war against Great Britain. Others were still loyal to their home country. The Congress spent many months debating the best sorts of action. Meanwhile, support for independence grew. In January 1776, an American colonist named Thomas Paine inspired many other colonists by publishing a pamphlet titled Common Sense. In it, Paine called for the complete independence from Britain. He argued that it was simply common sense to stop following the royal brute, King George III. Paine called the colonists' actions a struggle for freedom. By 1776, more than half of the delegates of the Second Continental Congress agreed with Paine that the colonies must break away from Britain. The Congress, acting now as a government for the colonies, appointed a committee to write a document that would officially announce the independence of the United States. Thomas Jefferson, a delegate from Virginia, did most of the work. His draft of the Declaration explained why the United States of America should be a free nation. The Declaration of Independence. Main idea: the Declaration of Independence used traditional English political rights to call for independence for the colonies. The Declaration argued that the British government did not look after the interests of the colonists. The authors include a long list of abuses by King George III and called him a tyrant, unfit to be the ruler of a free people. However, that document was much more than a list of complaints. Democratic ideals. The second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence set forth the colonists' beliefs about the rights of individuals. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The paragraph quoted from the Declaration went on to say, to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government. In other words, the purpose of a government is to protect the rights of the people. Moreover, government is based on the consent or agreement of the people. It only has the powers that the governed give it. The people are also entitled to change a government if it disregards their rights or their combined wishes. These ideas were not new. Remember, as you read earlier, the ideas about democracy and freedom originated with the ancient Greeks. Jefferson was influenced by John Locke and other writers. As you learned earlier, Locke wrote that good government is based on a social contract between the people and the rulers. Locke also wrote that all people should equally enjoy the rights to life, liberty, and property in an uncertain future. The Second Continental Congress approved the Declaration of Independence with a few changes on July 4th, 1776. The American colonies were now independent states, at least in theory. True freedom, though, would not come until the war ended and Great Britain officially recognized the United States as an independent nation.